Before we start, subscribe to the channel to help us continue writing inspiring stories, and leave a comment telling us which city you watch us from. What you're about to hear is the true story of Linda Thompson, a 52-year-old retired nurse from Atlanta, Georgia. What she discovered on that October afternoon would destroy everything she believed about her family, but it would also lead to the most incredible miracle of forgiveness you've ever witnessed. Picture this. It's a quiet Sunday afternoon in suburban Atlanta. Linda is walking through her daughter's neighborhood, carrying a small gift for her 5-year-old granddaughter, Emma. At 52, Linda has that gentle strength that comes from decades of caring for others. First as a nurse, then as a single mother who raised 2 kids after a devastating divorce. As she approaches Sarah's beautiful 2-story house, Linda's heart fills with joy. There, parked in the driveway, is her son, Mark's silver Honda. Her 25-year-old son rarely visits his 28-year-old sister during the week. He's always so busy with his tech job. But seeing both her children together makes her smile. Maybe they're finally healing after their father's tragic death 5 years ago. Linda decides to peek through the living room window before knocking. She wants to surprise little Emma. But as she gets closer to the house, she hears raised voices from inside. And what she's about to hear will change everything. "I can't keep living with this guilt, Sarah." Mark's voice is desperate, breaking. "It's eating me alive." Linda freezes. Her hand stops mid-air, just about to ring the doorbell. Something in her son's tone makes every maternal instinct scream that she should listen. "Mark, you need to stop this," Sarah snaps back. "It's been 5 years. 5 years." And then Mark says the words that will shatter Linda's world forever. "But don't you understand? I was the one driving that night. Not some drunk driver like we told everyone. Not some stranger. It was me, Sarah. I killed our father." Can you imagine? Linda's knees buckle. She grabs the windowsill to keep from collapsing. The gift box falls from her trembling hands and hits the ground. For 5 years, Linda had been praying for justice against the drunk driver who killed her ex-husband. She'd wondered who this monster was, why he fled the scene, how someone could be so heartless. And now she discovers she's been praying for justice against her own son. But wait, it gets worse. "You were 17, Mark," Sarah continues coldly. "You made a mistake. Dad shouldn't have been yelling at you while you were driving. It was raining. You lost control." "I murdered him!" Mark's voice cracks with 5 years of hidden anguish. "And Mom still prays for that drunk driver every Sunday. She still talks about justice. She doesn't know she's been praying for justice against her own son." Now Linda learns the full truth. Her 17-year-old son had been driving in the rain while his alcoholic father screamed at him. Mark lost control, crashed, and in his terror, he ran, left his father to die, and created this elaborate lie about a drunk driver. But here's what breaks Linda's heart completely. Listen to what her daughter Sarah says next. "Promise me you'll never tell her. Promise me, Mark. We've built our lives on this story. My marriage, your career, Emma's stability, everything depends on Mom never knowing." Sarah, her compassionate, sweet daughter, is not just covering up the truth. She's actively manipulating her brother to keep lying to their mother. "But what if she finds out?" Mark pleads. "No one will find out, because you're going to stop this guilt trip. Dad was a terrible husband and an alcoholic. Maybe it was God's way of protecting us." Linda stumbles away from that house like a woman walking through a nightmare. Her daughter just called her ex-husband's death a blessing. Her son has been lying to her face every Sunday at church. Everything she believed about her family was a lie. That night, Linda sits in her small apartment staring at the family photos on her refrigerator. Mark's graduation, Sarah's wedding, little Emma's birthdays, every moment of joy, every prayer of gratitude, all of it built on deception. She opens her Bible seeking comfort like she has every night for decades, but for the first time in her life, the words blur through her tears. And Linda Thompson feels something she's never experienced before, the complete absence of God's presence. Days turn into weeks. Linda stops going to church. She stops answering her children's calls. She stops believing in the goodness she'd always seen in people. The depression settles over her like a suffocating blanket. She gives away her possessions and starts planning the unthinkable. What would you do if you discovered your deepest trust had been betrayed by those closest to you? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible true stories of faith and forgiveness. It's a cold Thursday evening in November when something extraordinary happens. Linda is sitting on a bench outside the hospital where she used to work, holding a bottle of sleeping pills and contemplating ending her pain forever. That's when an elderly African-American man sits down beside her. "Mighty cold night to be sitting outside, sister," he says gently. Linda looks at him, probably in his 70s, wearing a worn but clean coat, with eyes that seem to see straight through her soul. "I don't have anywhere else to go," she whispers. "Mind if I ask what's troubling you?" Something about this stranger's presence makes Linda tell him everything. The lies, the betrayal, the complete destruction of her faith. This man, Pastor Williams, he tells her, listens without judgment. When she finishes, Pastor Williams shares something incredible. "You know, I had a son once, lost him to the streets, to drugs, to choices that broke my heart every single day. Spent years asking God why he'd let me raise a boy who'd caused so much pain." "What happened to him?" Linda asks. "He died in prison, but before he passed, he found Jesus, really found him. And you know what he told me? He said, 'Daddy, my mistakes weren't God's plan, but God's using them anyway. Look at how many young men you've saved because you understood their pain.'" Pastor Williams stands slowly and looks directly into Linda's eyes. "Sometimes, sister, God allows our deepest wounds to become our greatest ministry. Your son's mistake, your daughter's fear, your pain, none of it surprises the Almighty. He's waiting to show you what he wants to build from the ashes." Here's where this story gets supernatural, friends. The next morning, Linda goes back to the hospital to find Pastor Williams. But when she asks about him, something impossible happens. No one knows who she's talking about. The security guard, who's worked that shift for 15 years, swears no elderly man was on the grounds the night before. Who was Pastor Williams? Was he an angel? A divine encounter? Linda doesn't know. But something in her spirit has shifted. She finds herself walking to the pediatric ward where she used to volunteer. In room 314, she meets 8-year-old Mia, a terminal cancer patient with eyes wise beyond her years. "Miss Linda, I prayed you'd come back," Mia exclaims. As they talk, this dying child somehow knows Linda's pain without being told, and then Mia shares something that changes everything. "You look sad, like when my daddy found out he wasn't really my daddy." Linda's heart stops. "What do you mean?" "Mama told him when I got sick she was scared, so she lied about who made me. But you know what Daddy said?" This 8-year-old takes Linda's hand. "He said love isn't about who makes mistakes. It's about who chooses to stay and make it right." "And did he stay?" Linda whispers. "He's downstairs getting my favorite ice cream right now. He says I'm his daughter no matter what, 'cause love makes families, not just blood." By that night, Linda kneels beside her bed for the first time in weeks. "God," she prays, "I don't understand your plan, but if you can use a dying child to speak truth into my broken heart, then maybe you can use my broken family too." 3 days later, the phone rings. It's Mark, and his voice is shaking. "Mom, I need to tell you something. I can't live with this secret anymore." Linda takes the deepest breath of her life. "Son, I already know. And I want you to come home so we can talk." When Mark arrives with Sarah and little Emma, Linda tells them she overheard everything. The confession that follows is devastating. Mark's tears of 5 years of guilt, Sarah's angry denials, the full scope of their deception. But here's the miracle. As Linda listens to her children's broken explanations, she doesn't feel rage. Instead, she feels something impossible. Compassion for 2 terrified young people who made terrible choices in their pain. "Your father was an alcoholic," Linda tells them gently. "He was angry that night, probably drunk. You were 17, Mark, driving in the rain while being screamed at. It was a tragedy, not murder. "But I ran, Mom. I left him there and ran." "You were a scared child. And Sarah, you were trying to protect your little brother. I understand why you made the choices you did. The healing doesn't happen overnight. There are family therapy sessions, legal consultations, and many nights of tears." Mark turns himself into police, but due to the circumstances and statute of limitations, he receives community service rather than prison time. But the most incredible change is in Linda herself. As she walks through forgiveness with her children, she discovers a calling she never expected. She starts attending support groups for families destroyed by secrets and guilt, sharing her story with others trapped by shame. Within 2 years, Linda has founded the House of Truth and Healing in downtown Atlanta, a counseling center specifically for families dealing with hidden trauma, lies, and the need for radical forgiveness. Families break, she tells the parents and children who come seeking help, but God specializes in making broken things beautiful. Mark becomes a counselor working with troubled teens. Sarah starts a support group for family members affected by accidents. Even little Emma, now 8, volunteers by drawing pictures for the children who come to the center with their hurting families. Today, the House of Truth and Healing has helped over 3,000 families find reconciliation and peace. Linda Thompson's story proves that even the most devastating betrayals can become the foundation for God's greatest miracles. Sometimes the very thing that breaks us is exactly what God uses to heal others. The worst day of Linda's life became the beginning of the most powerful ministry she could ever imagine. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button, subscribe for more incredible true stories of faith and transformation, and share this with someone who needs to hear that no mistake is too big for God's grace, and no family too broken for His healing power. Let us know in the comments, how has God used your deepest pain for His greatest purpose?